Helluva Boss is a writing nightmare. Hey guys, it's the Pink King here. It has been a week now since Helluva Boss the Mastermind has been released, and a lot has happened since then, mainly the large amount of memes, of course, that's inevitable. Now, I initially was going to leave this episode as it is. I've already made 2 videos about it, so I didn't really see any need to come back to this episode. However, something I didn't realize fully while reviewing it was that something felt off about this episode. There's something wrong with this episode in particular, and that's how broken this episode is with its writing. Now, what do I mean by this? After all, Helluva Boss has always had shoddy writing, so what's so different about the Mastermind in particular that makes it stand out from other stuff? Well, you see, I believe this episode presents the biggest flaw in Helluva Boss's writing process. Not once, but 3 specific occasions in here that demonstrate the exact same issue. So today we're going to be looking at 3 moments and explain why they are so problematic. This is why Helluva Boss is a writing nightmare. Let's start with the beginning of the episode, in particular with Stella and her brother. This scene is probably the most important one in the entire episode, as it's the catalyst for why Stella and her brother finally figure out a plan to take down Stolas, with the reveal of Stolas giving Blitzo the grimoire. Now, this scene initially seems perfectly fine. After all, you need the setup for your big threat, but on closer inspection, this entire moment suffers from the big mistake any writer can make. That being convenience. Now, convenience is something that not a lot of people talk about when writing is brought up, but it's far more important than you think, because on its own, it's something fine. It's completely fine. It can even lead to some room for other stuff and more stuff to grow. But when you make a key part of your story convenient, then that's when it starts to become a bit of a problem. As here, the very reason why they figure out this plan is due to the fact Stella conveniently mentions it to her brother. This being the reason everything happens is so ridiculous. It's like if Sherlock Holmes figured out who committed a crime because some random guy on the street was accidentally talking about it. There's nothing there that's narratively fitting, it's just something random that happens. It doesn't happen because they're secretly spying on Stolas, gathering his weaknesses and whatnot, driving the story forward, but because of a complete accident, and so ruins a lot of the tension around the villains. And it just makes them look like complete idiots. Especially with Stella. You mean to tell me the woman who's been doing everything she can to ruin her ex's life so much she hired a hitman just so happened to not know that Stolas giving the grimoire to imps was illegal? Or that she never even told her brother about this? Yeah, I'm gonna call cap there. I'm gonna call cap. The convenience here is what saps away the threat from these guys. Because I was thinking while watching this episode, they're doing everything right, but these villains aren't working. They're just not clicking. And I think this is the exact reason why they're not clicking. Because if they didn't get lucky or weren't unbelievably stupid, then they would have never figured this out on their own. That's strike 1 of the writers bending the rules all for the sake of compensating for their lack of attention to these villains in prior episodes. Now let's look at the scene where the imps are arrested. They are cornered at the mercy of the Hell Police. They are completely helpless, nowhere to go. If only they had some sort of magical device, who knows, maybe a gem or something, that could get them to any place in the world, maybe even into the overworld where the humans are, to escape Hell Police in general. You know, just somewhere where they could go instantly. Oh wait, yes, I'm talking about the crystal. You mean to tell me after all this build-up around this thing, around this little gem we've spent the past season dedicated to building up, when they need it most, you've suddenly forgotten about it? And don't give me the excuse that they were in a high-pressure situation so they forgot it, considering the fact that they have also been in other high-pressure situations, but they still remember they had the crystal then. So why not now? Again, it's convenience by the writers, because if they followed the rules that they themselves made before, they wouldn't have been able to get them into the courtroom. It's another case of conveniently ignoring something all for the sake of telling a story. The only issue is they have not put in the work to make that story worth it. And it would have been so simple to fix. Like, show us the scene where they try to use the crystal, but the Hell Police somehow stop them. That's all you needed to do. But the fact they have not done that, again, to conveniently continue the plot, just leaves a massive plot hole that could have easily been avoided. And speaking of avoiding, let's talk about the court scene, specifically with Stolas' song. While yes, it's a good song, narratively, it's very convenient to helping the villains, as Stolas, for some reason, starts rambling on about how he's the evil genius behind everything going on. It's like a mouse doing the most it can to get caught by a mouse trap. It's such a stupid thing to do, and worst of all, it makes no sense. Because Stolas never once mentions the actual crime they've been accused of. Yeah, go rewatch the episode. He never once mentions the fact it's about the grimoire. He's randomly and ambiguously implying he's the mastermind behind some evil scheme, but they forgot the part where he actually says what that scheme is. If it was written realistically to who Stolas is as a character, it would have gone like this. Stolas would have been there asking what's going on in the first place, explaining that he gave them the book under his supervision and he wasn't forced to give it up at all, and he could easily disprove the villains by pointing out the one witness they have, Stryker, was the same assassin they sent to kill him not too long ago. They made him dumber as a character just so we could see him lose his powers, conveniently for the plot. And herein lies the big issue with this entire episode, structurally. There are too many key moments being determined by either chance or accidents. They are robbing these moments of their impact by not having them be direct, reasonable actions made by the characters. Instead of using their characters' weaknesses to effectively push the narrative, they make up new ones just so the story works. This, to me at least, exposes a big issue when it comes to writing for this series, as Vibsy Pop and her team are forcing characters into stories that don't work, instead of organically writing stories around the characters. That's why there's so much convenience throughout everything here, because they were doing anything they can to make anything happen without asking themselves whether it made sense for it to happen or not. I've given this episode a lot of praise, and I still stand by this episode being one of the better ones of Season 2, but this level of blatant lack of awareness to the very show they're creating is something that, to me, I'm baffled by, and needs to be corrected if this show wants any chance of surviving another season. But, what do you guys think? Do you agree with my opinions here, or am I perhaps missing something that you guys have noticed? Let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to see what it is you have to say on this topic, because this has been eating at me ever since I watched the episode, and I want to know whether it's been eating at you also. So yeah, type your thoughts in the comments. I'll read what you have to say and we can have a discussion there. Also, before we go, don't forget, if you want more in-depth Helluva Boss videos just like this, like the video and subscribe. Subscribing helps me out massively. We just celebrated 5,000 subscribers the other day. Go watch that video if you want. And with that, peeps, it's been the Pink King here, and I will see you all next time.